Hello, welcome back to this portion of the Amazon AI Practitioner walkthrough. This time we're going to be covering Amazon Q. So let's go over to the dice, click on that. We'll go over to machine learning, click on that, and we'll look for Amazon Q. There you go. All right. So what is Amazon Q? Q is a fully managed generative AI assistant designed to help businesses interact with their internal data and AWS services more effectively. It's built on Bedrock and leverages multiple foundational models to provide customized responses based on company specific data. So, why is this significant? Q is seen as a tool that can gradually change how companies interact with the AWS cloud. It'll help you enhance the usability and accessibility of internal data through AI driven insights and actions, right? There's also Q for business. So, why is this here? This is a specialized generative AI. It's an assistant, though, and it's tailored to an organization's internal data. It can perform various tasks like generating content, answering questions, summarizing information, and automating routine tasks. So, what are some features of it? Data integration. Data integration. And let's click on Q for business to get that because that, I believe, is right here. Okay, it's a secondary one. All right. Data integration. So Amazon Q Business connects with over 40 enterprise data sources. This includes AWS services like S3, RDS, and Aurora, as well as non-AWS services like Microsoft 365, Salesforce, Google Drive, and Slack. There's also plugins. Beyond retrieving data, Q Business can interact with third-party services like Jira, ServiceNow, and Salesforce through plugins. So it'll let you automate tasks like creating tickets or sending meeting invites, which is really good for your business day workflows. Right? Then there's security. Users can access Amazon Q Business through IAM Identity Center, ensuring that permissions are enforced and sensitive data is protected. It also integrates with external identity providers like Google Login or Microsoft Active Directory for seamless authentication. So there's also admin controls. Within Q, similar to guardrails in Amazon Bedrock, this lets organizations block specific topics or terms and decides whether the AI assistant should use only internal data or include external information. Then there's global versus topic level controls. Okay. Admin controls here can be applied to globally or be tailored to specific topics. This provides flexibility in managing the AI assistant's behavior. So, what's an example that you could see? This is very basic setup. Okay. Think about this. When you have a query for an internal document, right? Q could retrieve specific information from the internal document, like health plan summaries, and it could provide relevant data with references to the original document stored in a service like S3. That would be perfect in all internal, not pulling outside information. All right, so how do you set this up? So users within Q would create an application with Q Business, and you can see that here. And that can access data sources like S3. This could involve setting up service roles, selecting retrievers, which would be indexes for real-time data retrieval, and connecting data sources. Then you can use IAM Identity Center. This would serve as the user authentication system, and it would ensure that only authorized users can access specific data and functionalities within the Amazon Q business. All right. And then there's data syncing and user management. So data from connected sources like S3 can be synced on demand or at scheduled intervals. Users can be managed within the IAM Identity Centers. Subscription to Q Business Lite or Pro can be assigned to control access and functionality. So how do you set this up? All right, so we're logged in. We got in here with our credentials. We're at the Amazon Q page. So what are we going to do? We got here. Let's see. Let's go Q. Let's see what this is. Okay, let's click get started. All right. And what do we have here? We have applications. Oh, well, first you have to go to Identity Center. Let's go to that. Let's do that. All right, so let's go over here. This is mandatory for Q Business user authentication. So, okay, we're already enabled. Okay, and then we have to choose our preferred region, which is already selected. Add users or groups. All right, let's see. Okay, Let's say practice AI, oops, practice AI group. Add users to the group. That's one I like to add. That's one of my default users. So it's our practice AI group. All right. So we added the users details and we should be good. All right. So now let's go create a Q business application. I'm just going to be real simple. Create the application right here. All right. So this will have like a generic name right here, but let's say something like this: company data assistant. All right. Added this authenticated access or anonymous access. We'll try anonymous access for this. We're going to delete this afterwards, so don't worry. There's outcome, web experience, and then here you have some more. You have the IAM Identity Center, which you add here, or the IAM Identity Provider. So you could use SAML, you could do OpenID, and this would mean a third-party system could be able to authenticate through this. So if you had someone in an on-prem data center or something like that that needed to authenticate in here, you'd have the authentication URL that you would add here and set up subscriptions for this user, right? And then you have ways to authorize them to get access to the application. Okay, and then you have this set up for OpenID with a secret, with a role for them to actually use for whatever service you want them to be able to access, and similarly on down. All right, but we're going to go back to anonymous. Oops. Company data assistant. All right, we'll just click create. All right, and then okay, we're going to go in our application. Okay. Oh, we're already in the application. Okay. So we're in an application. So what we're going to do is find our data sources. Boom. Click on that. Then we're going to choose a data source. So we could do an index for this. Oh, this would be enterprise level. It's not quite what I want to do. How it works. Add an index before connecting your data sources. An index stores and retrieves it. Connect data sources and define a data sync. Add a data sync histories. So yeah, this is what we're going to do. Add this number of units. We're going to add that index as an anonymous access is enabled. All right, and then we're going to add a data source. So let's add a data source. Let's choose S3, and let's go back here. See, all these things can be data sources. Could imagine you could use your Confluence, your GitHub. You could do a lot. Your Google Calendar. You can do a lot with this on your own. But we're going to use S3 for this. So we're going to say company. Nope. Company data. Company data. Source. All right. We have that. The IAM role. Create a custom service role. That'll be fine. That'll be the role that it creates. We're going to select a bucket. This is the only one we have here. There's nothing really in it. That's okay. Maximum single file size. We can adjust this for your parameters. And then you can actually update the, what do you call it? The configuration file for the ACL. So you want public access or whatnot. Then you can adjust your metadata. So this could find anything you want to look at in order to better parse the information. You can filter in or out different file types. So if you wanted to exclude PDFs or include PDFs or docs, something along those, right? And you can specify which you want to exclude as well, GIFs or GIFs or whatever, JPEGs, whatever. And you can configure this for multimedia. So that means visual content, indexing, audio files, video, all of this, right? And then sync schedule. So you can do a full sync of this. So this can be done on a regular basis, right? Or you can do a new sync. So if you add more files to it, it'll sync at that point. Then you can set a schedule on demand, hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, right? Configure a VPC that can go with it. We only have the default here, so that's not a big deal. Then modify any fields. This would be after the index. You could do this to make your fields much better produced. So we're going to add that data source. Oops. frequency, we'll just do it monthly. And then add the data source. It'll be publicly accessible. Ooh, geez. I'm gonna delete that. All right. Okay. And then you can also do that for Microsoft 365. And then with that, you provide your authentication credentials and then select which Microsoft services you want to sync, something like SharePoint, OneDrive, whatever. Or you could do it for Salesforce. And then you could integrate your Salesforce connection so that you could have your CRM be able to deliver that information and be able to interact with it on a much more robust manner. All right. Okay. Okay. Created successfully. So we're going to find, let's see, let's go here. Where are we at? Users. That's what I'm going to find. Enable it for your users today. To user management. Admin controls. That might not be it. Let's see. Describe back here. No, let's get started back. Let's go back here. Let's see our applications again. Customized web experience, access, applications. Why am I not seeing users? Let's see, customized experience. Data sources we have here. Okay. It's creating this. This is good. Admin control and guardrails. Well, oh, you know what? It's because I picked anonymous. That's probably why. Okay, so with that, we already did that a little bit by having a user from Identity Center that can be able to authenticate. So someone could use that user from earlier. But because if this is an anonymous web application, this can also be available, right? And so from here, we could actually assign another user, which we could try and do. Okay, let's try and do that. I don't know why I didn't think of that until just now. All right, so let's go back here. Create a user. Let's call it Alex. AI user. All right. We'll get all that in here. We'll add it to this practice group, and that's how we add somebody there. All right. And we'd be good to go. Okay. So that would be another user that we've added here. Okay. And then you can configure some things within that, but ultimately we have our system sorted out. All right. So let's see if we can have admin controls. All right, so admin controls is here. So here's where we can do a little bit of configurations. It's similar to guardrails. So how would we do this? Okay, one thing we can do is create topic control, right? Let's say 4-letter words. All right, want to block the 4-letter words, not technically 4-letter words, or 7 words you can't say on television, according to George Carlin. All right. So example, add a new. What are the words you can't say on television? Okay. Answer using enterprise data or block completely. That's a rule that you can add there. And then add representative phrases you expect the user to type to invoke this topic. Other word for feces. And you basically set that to block everything completely. Boom. All right. So we'll keep going with that. So you can add sensitive terms. All right. Let's see. Those are the topics at least. Let's see this. All right, response. Blocked words. Boom. And we can block words here. So we're not going to say these. These are the words. I think it's the 7 dirty words, right? And then you can make some updates here for certain things. However, this is for anonymous access. This is going to limit it, right? Global controls are read only, except for blocked words. We'll save those. Okay. And then let's see. We already completed the topic. Let me see. Oh yeah, we did include the responses. So let's go response customization. So let's edit this. So let's see. Define the assistant's identity. You can have a special identity, or you can do Amazon Q, assistant's perspective, or the role. And you describe this as well as you want, and it will be pretty accurate to it. You know, DevOps, engineer assistant, cloud engineering, senior assistant, something along those lines, right? And response preferences, you can define your own style, professional and informative, right? So we'll just leave those there, okay? And then you could also, I'll go back to admin controls. You could also guard other things as well. This would be where you could have PHI, PII, any employee information like salaries, healthcare information, children's names, something along those lines, right? And you can select, we showed you how to select or block that, all right? So what's the purpose of the apps? So the apps let an organization create a generative AI-powered application without you coding. So you only use natural language prompts. And these apps are based on company data and can leverage plugins for enhanced functionality, right? So this will use the provided natural language instructions to define the app's functionality, like analyzing customer feedback or generating summaries. And then the Q apps automatically generate the web application, which can include features like file uploads, text outputs, etc. And then the apps can be customized with additional user input. So you can make this as wordy or as precise as you want, right? And those file uploads and output configurations will help further refine it, right? And then the generated apps would be published and be accessed by the organization, right? So an example would be you want an app that might take customer feedback as input, categorize it, and generate a summary. And all of this would be based on the instructions provided in the app's creation phase, which we've gone over. All right, and so let's see if we can go. Let's see, do business apps right here, machine learning, Q business. Well, we did create that app. That was one app that we already created, which I thought was suitable, right? You could, but basically you can do all of this. Let's go back here, into our application. Let's go back over here, and then yeah, so you could basically choose a lot of what you want here for your metadata. You can add more fields. Your relevance, you can tune this like we talked about before, right? Have some recency bias, right? So you can have some more metadata and basically drag those metadata fields to add more to it. And then you can prioritize the user sources. So if you wanted to have the major one that we had already, you save that and be good. And I'm trying to think, what else do we need to hear? We went there, documents you can add to this. So you can add like source documents. And since AWS has a lot of protections for its users and their content, it'll all be kept in the system, right? So you can insert, extract, or modify document metadata and content. You can configure basic logic, configure lambdas to pass information for pre-extraction, and then type queries into the web experience, right? And then you can embed it, right? Customize the end user web experience, verify the web readiness, and provide the sites that are allowed to host the app, and embed the web experience on allowed websites with an iframe. which is basically like an embed plugin for your website to make it look really well, right? And then you can add those websites here. Example.com, you see there's the default. And you can add all of these things. All right. Now, where are we going to go? So we have all this. It's created. We have the ID. We have the name. We have our tags. We can share it to the web. We can customize it a little more. We can edit it some more. But basically, we're good. All right. So what else can we do here? We can actions, edit it further. We can create another app, or we can delete it. All right. So let me see if I can find Q developer. All right. All right. Go over here. All right. So Q developer is an AI-driven tool aimed at developers working within AWS environments. It assists with AWS documentation queries, resource management, and coding. And it offers functionality similar to GitHub Copilot, but specialized for AWS. So what's the capabilities, right? Developers can ask Q developer to list AWS resources, suggest CLI commands, analyze bills, and troubleshoot issues. It can also have an AI code companion, right? So the tool can generate code snippets, offer real-time code suggestions, and scan for security vulnerabilities. It supports languages like Java, Python, TypeScript, and more. And it integrates with popular IDEs like Visual Studio Code and JetBrains. So a developer might ask Q developer to generate Python code for listing files in an S3 or suggest a CLI command for managing AWS resources. So you could list your EC2s and then be good with that, right? You could decide to shut down or pause them, right? So how do you set this up? Let's click get started. Okay. All right. You have the additional here. You can add a profile description, which would help understand what's more information you can add into this. Okay. Then assign users. Oh, wow. I thought I'm done. Am I done? Oh my goodness. Okay. So, see dashboard, see settings. All right. Subscriptions, identity providers. Oh, there's the plugins for Wiz. Oh, interesting. Datadog, Cloud Zero, customizations, subscriptions. All right. Let's see what we want to do. So we got our profile. Let's see. IDE. So you can give this URL, have them access this with your IDE, right? Which would be the Visual Studio Code, and then be able to log in with this, right? I'm going to delete this after this. Don't worry about that. And then when you're in Cloud Shell, you can go ahead, or when you're in your IDE, you can start making commands, with simple text, list all my S3 buckets, and it will respond. A lot more IDEs and AIs are starting to work with this. All right. So let's go back to what would you want to know for the next portion? Um, Basically, once you have everything going, you can customize the web experience for this. You can start making this a little bit more robust. Have the title, have the information, you save it, and you should be good to go. You can test some queries to make sure everything works. Why isn't this here? Oh, why isn't this working? Text boost, advancing boost, capture the time period, themes. Oh, that'd be a good looking situation. Okay. Why isn't this working? Interesting. Applications. Let's see if we can. Well, we can't deploy it. I'd have to probably make that more. I'd probably have to include more stuff, but we have this basically set up. And from here, you can start using this on a regular databasis, day-to-day basis, right? You can start asking. You can start stepping this into your workflow, right? So in practice, a user could use this to do everything you need within your AWS environment, right? But it's important to remember that you have to manage a subscription and delete any applications to avoid unnecessary charges, right? It offers a free trial, but services like QDeveloper have paid tiers, and those need to be monitored. So what we're going to do is clean this up and delete it. Delete, delete. Okay. All right. And then we're going to go back here. We're going to delete the profile. Delete. All right. And then let's see if we have any subscriptions here. None. Okay, we're good. All right. So you really want to monitor your subscriptions with this, review any of this in your console. You know, you're going to go to Cost Explorer, you're going to see what subscriptions you have and remove unused subscriptions to avoid charges or applications as well. And to disable unnecessary data source syncing, which we did when we deleted this, but we'll check this just to be certain, right? Because we added that. So that sync is going to cost. And then once you're good, we deleted it. We can go back and update the IAM Identity Center and remove users from the group. But usually that's just, we didn't really do anything with it. So it should be fine. We can just apply it later, but I'll check to make sure. But so remember a couple of things. Q Business, Q Apps are in Amazon Q or in the machine learning. Okay. So here we go. There's applications. So machine learning. Okay. This is where we went. You can see Q and Q Business. I couldn't find Q Developer, which is interesting. Maybe storage. Where would that be, huh? We're gonna look for that. It's always good to know where things are so you can learn how to use this in multiple ways. Um, Q Developer, boom. So it's in management and governance. There you go. So machine learning for Q apps and Q business, and then management and governance for Q developer. All right. Perfect. Right. So remember the key things. You have Identity Center, IAM Identity Center. It's mandatory for Q business. Then you have service roles that you can create and then add to it to be able to limit who can actually access this. So when you do that, you can either do it anonymously like we just did, or you have your IDs connected to something like Microsoft 365 or your Salesforce environment or a bunch of different ways, right? Then you have the data sources. Salesforce could also be a data source, your S3 buckets, a database on your local. There's a bunch of different things that you can add as well. And then you have your admin controls, which is similar to how Bedrock has guardrails. You can set things to block, prompts to block, words to block, information to monitor and block, right? Or you can have redirects as well. And then you can have subscription types to determine available features, but remember to monitor your costs. So remember this for the exam, how to set this up, basically, how to configure user access and permissions, how the content can be restricted, what the use case would be for this. So remember that when you go through this, and you should be pretty good. In conclusion, Q and its services like Q Business, Q Developer is a significant step forward in how businesses can use AI with their internal data and AWS services. So when you combine the natural language processing and AI automation and integration with AWS tools, Q is a pretty good assistant when it comes to business and technical users. So remember this for the exam, and then come and join us next time when we go over the AI and machine learning overview. But until then, remember to like, subscribe. If you know someone taking the AWS AI practitioner, share this with them. Until then, have a good day.